Alright, so this is going to be kind of a somewhat comprehensive guide to getting a lich and hunting them after you get one. I say somewhat comprehensive because I'm sure someone's made a more comprehensive one. But this is kind of an idiot's way to think about it. So, first step for getting a lich. There are level requirements involved. You have to complete a normal Grenier mission, level 20 plus. So this can't be a void mission, doesn't really do it in syndicate missions, that kind of deal. So because of that, normally the go-to that a lot of people use is on Saturn, the mission called Cassini. It's a capture mission, and so that's normally what people go for. Okay, so during the capture mission on Cassini, you capture the target, and then you wait for what will look like flashy lights. Kind of just a dimming and shining of lights. And that signals that you have entered the possibility stage for spawning a Kuva larval wing. In order to get that Kuva larval wing, you're going to need to kill just as many enemies as you can within like a 10-20 second period. Just continue killing enemies until a Kuva Guardian will message screen will show up in kind of the bottom part of your right hand side of your screen.
Soldier, you have been nominated. Your glory awaits in her fortress.
Okay, when that shows up, at the same time a waypoint, a red little Kuva Lichling waypoint will spawn, and that's going to be where your Kuva larvaling will be. And so just go straight to them, knock them down, and kind of like a capture target, they're going to fall to the ground. When they do that, they're going to spawn. They're going to have a spawn lich X to do thing. And above their head is going to be the Kuva weapon that they spawn with, that you spawn for your Kuva lich.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching. You are surrounded by Grenier Marines.
Subject secure. Removing from battlefield. Peace for Nk's craft.
Okay, so if you don't like the weapon, don't do it. If you do like the weapon, obviously do it. And there are obviously some better Kuva weapons, like the Kuva Brahma is really nice, the Kuva Grattler, Kuva Anyanga. Like, there are really good Kuva weapons. There are also less good Kuva weapons. So it's kind of just dealer's choice, whatever you want. And it does cycle. So you can run the mission multiple times and not finish. You don't have to X to select. You can just finish the mission. That's fine. 100% fine. Nothing happens, but your choices will rotate. So the next time you stab a larvaling without getting a lich, then or down a larvaling, you will have a different selection. So that's kind of a way to just cycle through your different selections to get the weapon that you might want. It's not 100% accurate. Sometimes you get multiple times in a row of the same one, but usually they try to cycle it. So now, the element of that weapon that your Kuva Lich spawns with is dependent upon what warframe you use. So, depending on your warframe choice, that will spawn whichever one you want. So, you need to be able to complete the mission with the warframe of your choice in order to get the correct element. This doesn't matter quite so much with the introduction of the changer from 1999, but it used to be a big deal in choosing your element, but not so big a deal anymore. So take that how you will. Okay, once you've spawned your Kuva Lichling. At the end of the mission, you'll see that you got 100 Kuva.
Great work. I am pleased with your performance.
And then as soon as you return to your orbiter, there will be your screen will go red and your Kuva Lich will introduce themselves. Their personalities depend on a bunch of different things. Generally, just try and ignore what they say because it is the most off color anything.
Did you know the human head lives for up to 20 seconds after decapitation? Why do I ask? Oh, no reason.
So, after you have been introduced to your Kuva Lich, and you now have worlds that are infested by your Kuva Lich. So it starts with Earth, then it goes to Mars, then it goes to Ceres, then Saturn, then Sedna. Each time it moves planets, it ranks up. So, but the way you get progress to defeating your Kuva Lich is a multi-stage thing. First off, you whichever world your Lich is on, you run the missions for that Lich. So there's a drop down when you select a mission that's covered in red that will say, you know, whatever the normal mission type is, if there's a void server, a signature mission, and then it'll have the name of your Lich, Kuva Lich mission. And it'll be a higher level, like 50 to something higher. So base level of 50 to whatever max it is for the planet you're on. And it goes up as you go from planets. So you go, you run the missions. There's going to be unique units spawning as you kill enemies in the mission called Kuva Thralls. So these are the minions of your Kuva. They're doing their bidding on the planet, essentially. Whatever that means for your Lich. Anyway, like capture target, when you damage them enough, they get downed, and you can mercy kill them. Now, when you mercy kill them, they gave progress to your Requiem discovery.
Target is in the vicinity. Find them.
Now, your Requiem discovery is in relation to the Requiem mods for your Parazon. These are the mods that you're going to use to kill your Lich, essentially. And you get Requiem relics to discover them by downing thralls. So it's kind of a circular system here. Down thralls, get Requiem relics. The other place you can get Requiem relics is from the Kuva Siphon missions, with one of them being a guaranteed and the other one being chances. The guaranteed one is level 80 to 100, and the other ones are 25 to 30, I believe. So, with this, the more thralls you down, the faster you progress towards finding out which Requiem mods you need in your Parazon in order to take care of your Lich. So the way you find out though which because you just find out which ones, you don't find out the specific sequence of them. The way you find out your sequence is by having the little Kuva Lich appear in the mission, which depends on how many of their thralls you've killed. So the more thralls you kill, the Kuva Lich has a little anger meter on their screen. more the anger meter fills up, the more likely they are to show up in a mission. When they show up in a mission, there's various things you can do. You can run away. That's fine. In fact, that's recommended if you don't know which requiems you need and you haven't gotten any requiem mods. The second thing you can do is you can chase them away. Um, if you down your Lich 3 times, so knock out their first health bar, they fall down, they stand back up, you do it 3 times, they run away.
Oh no you don't! Get back here and get what's coming to you! For the love of... Fine, Lich out!
Um, and this is what is recommended to do until you find out at the very least your first requiem needed. Generally, I like to do till my second one is known. Um, you don't always have that luxury, but generally you want to know your first one because whenever you go to attempt to down them and stab them with your Parazon to use the requiems to defeat them, it checks to see if you have the correct requiem in the right spot. And if you don't, they run away to the next planet in the list. They rank up and get tougher, and it progresses through the planets that way. So this is why just stabbing them at the first opportunity when they show up is not always the best plan. That's option 3. Is just down them and stab them.
I remember every moment we've shared, every touch, every lash, every wound. Bitter, bugs, filth, crawling, hurtling, rustling, multi-legged corporations, feelers, and eyes, and the queens, the Kuva, have bestowed upon me new gifts.
Um, it's not always the best plan because that jumps them to the next planet, and you lose out on the possibility of getting more Requiem finding without them there. Now, important thing to note: you can run uh, Kuva Lich missions on planets where your Kuva Lich is not. If you're in a squad and someone else says, my Kuva Lich is on Sedna, you're like, well, mine's on Earth. You can run the mission. You'll get progress towards finding out your Kuva's requiems that you need, but your Kuva won't show up in that mission because your Lich is on Earth. So it's, you know, having some friends or pubbing into a Kuva Lich mission and with other people can be really beneficial. Also, the Lich, the one who stabs the thrall, that makes their Lich unhappy. That angers their Lich. Doesn't anger yours. You still get the progress for your Requiem, but it doesn't directly anger your Lich as much. So, I mean, at least that's how testing that I've downed, I don't know, 40, 50 Liches easy. Um, like 25, 30 of those were running with other people, and generally it seemed that whoever was doing the most stabbing was the one's Lich that showed up the most often. So, take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, it might not work out exactly that way. But, so, that's how you're kind of going to get your progression for your requiems. So after you've stabbed them and they've fled from that planet, because that happens if you don't have the right sequence, then you obviously move to the next planet, continue running missions, until you find out all three requiems and the order that it's supposed to be in. Now, there's two caveats to this. There are the six Zada, Lok, Kra, Jahu, Vom, then the R one. Uh, Riss. So there are those six, and then there's one that's called Ool. The Ool is specific in the fact that it's not one you can get from a Requiem relic, and the only way to get one is by doing Lich missions or a Sister of Parvos mission. But we're doing Lich missions at the moment. By doing Lich missions. The cool thing about an Ool is that it is a mimic. It is a joker. It is a random. It will be whichever one goes in that slot. So, this is both good and bad. This is a niche case. Again, if this is your first Lich, you won't have an Ool. You can just ignore this part. But the Ool takes the place of whichever one. This is good. If you know all your three but don't have all of them, you can replace the one that you don't know with your Ool. Or you could use it to find out, or things like that. So there's various uses for that. The other item that comes into play here is a Requiem Ultimatum. Requiem Ultimatums are a direct challenge to your Lich. They will show up in the mission you use them. They're a gear item. They come from hunting Liches. And it's not a 100% chance that you'll get one. Like, again, done like 60 Liches. I think I've gotten maybe 15 over the course of that time. So it's just, but essentially it's like, if you know all three of your Requiems, you have the sequence correct through various stabbings and things, and you just want them to show up, you don't want to adventure through the missions, a Requiem Ultimatum just makes them appear. So, depending on how you feel, cool. Anyway, okay, so after you've finally confronted them, have the correct sequence, they flee to the Saturn Proxima.
I've delivered another life support capsule.
So, that's where the railjack part comes in, because you need to have a railjack to hunt Kuva Liches. There's also a minimum mastery rank, technically, but honestly, if you're trying to hunt Liches, I would hope that you make that minimum very easily. Um, so, they flee to the Saturn Proxima and have a specific mission. It'll be Kuva Lich confrontation. Run that mission just as a dude. You'll have to down between 40 and 60 fighters and do between 2 and 4 cruise ships, increasing depending on how many people are in your squad or if you're doing it solo. But that's been the experience in my case for doing it. So you kill the fighters, you kill the cruise ships, and then you proceed towards the galleon.
Friend, I've been waiting so long.
Rainier Galleon in system. I have a capture order. Infiltrate and terminate. Fighters incoming. Keep them off ship. Enemy fighter cover halved. We have one less cruise ship to be concerned with. Direct attention to remaining targets. Enemy fighters are routing. Scratch one cruise ship. Arc with a slingshot. Loaded. 10-0 in the barrel. Cruise ship down. That clears up some space. Galleon has translated in sector.
Once you get on the galleon, you either fight your way or run your way directly to your Kuva Lich. And when you get between 50 and 100 meters away, there'll be a little cutscene where they're talking to you.
What is this? Baby's first vendetta? This one again. Oh, that's meat sack.
And then after that, you can just rush straight in and fight them. Now, if this is your first time fighting them, but you've maybe started using your focus schools, hopefully you've done more than started, but the Unairu focus school has two abilities that make fighting liches very easy. One is the corrosive strike, which strips all of their armor, and the other is the magnetic pulse, which strips all their shields. So, using both as kind of an opening move makes it a lot easier to fight your Lich instead of having to pound through their entire health, their entire shield bar, and then into their health. You can kind of just do a little bit of a workaround there. Okay. After defeating your Lich, you're given the option. Do you want to convert them or vanquish them? Converting your Kuva Lich turns them into an emergency ally when you've been downed multiple times in a mission. They are summoned to your side and they stay for like 2 minutes, which can be great in high level missions where maybe you're struggling, or it can just kind of be annoying because you're like, well, I didn't think I was doing so bad, but this guy apparently thinks I am. So, certain Kuva Lich weapons and abilities are great for crowd control, and so they're kind of a helpful thing. Other ones are not so much, and that's kind of just personal preference. The other option, Vanquish, is the one that you need to do in order to get your Kuva weapon. You need to kill your Lich, vanquish them in order to get your weapon. So, depending on what you choose, you'll either get an emergency ally when you're being downed. They can also serve as a crew member, a defender for your railjack. Not that great of a choice, if I'm being honest, but it's a choice you can make. Or you vanquish them and you get the weapon, which is what just about everyone chooses.
Well, fair's fair.
Now, there's also a interplay where if you convert a Lich, you can trade them to other players. Not something I've really interacted with because Lich hunting's kind of easy. Nowadays, it wasn't before, which is when a lot of that swapping used to happen. Not, I don't hear much about it these days, but again, I've never done that, so probably have to go find a different video telling you how to do that part. I'm more about just the straight hunting of liches. Okay, so after that, you will have noticed that as you're doing missions, trying to progress your Requiem meter, that your Lich has been stealing stuff from you. And it may have aggravated you. It probably will have aggravated you, especially if they steal things like the pieces that you're getting, the blueprints from, I don't know, void missions, or you completed an Archon hunt and they stole your Archon shard, or heaven forbid you somehow get a legendary core to drop and they stole that. Generally, that is what makes people suddenly decide that their Lich is not an annoyance anymore and is now a problem. But the good news here is that, like a dragon, stealing things to add to its wealth of gold, riches, and everything, when the Kuva Lich is dead, you get everything back. So, it's annoying. Everyone agrees that. But you will get everything back that was stolen from you. So, not the biggest of deals in the end. So, there's that. And then, upon returning to your orbiter, after leaving your dojo or the relay, I don't, depends on how you work with your railjack, returning to your orbiter, you will get a communication from Ordis. I think it's from Ordis that will show you your weapon and whether you got an ephemera. So your weapon will be added to your foundry, completely built already. So as long as you have weapon slots available, you can then pull that weapon straight out, start using it. Now, Kuva weapons have to be leveled 5 times and Formud 5 times. So technically leveled 6 times. Anyway, they have to be leveled up to level 40 with their level increasing by 2 every time you forma them to a maximum of 5 forma. Like you can forma however many times you want, but you need 5 forma in order to max level a Kuva weapon, have it count for mastery rank, and change their element. Um, but that's kind of more of lines of the intricacies of how a Kuva weapon works, and less on the actual hunt. So your first Kuva hunt might not go that fast because you might have to do things. You will probably have to do things like hunt for relics. The Requiem relics. They drop sometimes from thralls, sometimes a lot from thralls. But if they're not dropping for you, you may need to instead go and run the Kuva Siphon missions to get relics. Or all of them are tradable. Hit up a clan member. You know, heaven forbid, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't go to trade chat. That's a bad plan. Message in the help channel. Like, just go to a relay and be like, "Hey, I need help doing this." All of those are better than going to trade chat. But yeah, that might take it. But as you kind of continue your lich hunting experience, you build up a stock of the relics, you build up a stock of the mods, and so it gets easier to run, and so you get faster at running the Kuva Lich missions to the point I've seen people who can run a Kuva Lich mission or a Kuva Lich from start to finish in like 3 or 4 hours. And that's them being relaxed about it. So it becomes a lot easier. And when running the Kuva Lich missions becomes super easy, try a Sister of Parvos. When that becomes easy, try a Coda. I mean, a Technosite Coda. This is kind of baby's first Lich, to be 100% honest. But yeah, so um, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I hope this helps someone. Um, Thanks for listening to my rambling, not so TED Talk on Kuva Lich hunting. And yeah, everyone have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.